guys, so I just wanted to make a quick vlog about why I think net neutrality is a horrible idea before tomorrow, February 26, 2015, because tomorrow is when they vote on net neutrality. They want to put broadband internet under Title II regulations of the Telecommunications Act of 1934 because, 80 years ago, that's relevant. And they want to classify broadband internet as telecommunications, giving the FCC the right to control it and regulate it as they please. So the proposed bill for net neutrality is over 300 pages long, and they don't plan on releasing it to the public until after they vote on it tomorrow. So basically, they can write anything in there and it'll change the way the internet looks forever. FCC can micromanage as they please, and we could do nothing about it because the bill will already be passed. So I think net neutrality is the perfect wolf in sheep's clothing legislation because a lot of people are pro net neutrality, totally for it. A lot of really smart people. Obama's for it, which, by the way, before I even started doing my reading and research, I knew I didn't like net neutrality because he was calling for it. And I generally oppose anything a politician is rah-rahing. But anyway, after learning about it, I learned that, it's not such a good thing. So I'm going to use my favorite article I found on the topic to kind of guide me and my arguments. It's called, and I'll link it below, Am I the Only Techie Against Net Neutrality by Josh Stymie. Excellent article, easy read, concise arguments on why it's not such a good thing. So I'm going to kind of use that, summarize it, add my own thoughts in there, and I hope this vlog doesn't turn into something really long, and I apologize now if it's cut up into pieces. So net neutrality is the perfect wolf in sheep's clothing piece of legislation because it sounds totally innocent. It sounds like a great idea. It would eliminate fast lanes on the internet. Basically, content providers such as Netflix will not be allowed to pay extra money to internet service providers such as Time Warner and Comcast for faster internet connectivity. Basically, there won't be any preferential treatment for fast lanes and faster internet speeds and stuff like that. Everybody will have the same speed. So what this will do is it'll give everybody a chance. Yeah, the little guy, it'll help the little guy, whatever. From these evil monopolies that grant preferential treatment. But the reason, and I don't like monopolies either. I hate Comcast anytime I have to deal with those motherfuckers. But the reason that Time Warner and Comcast are so huge across the country is because of government. They have these locally granted monopolies. The big guy at Comcast goes and takes, the local politician out to dinner and says, hey, how about you letting us be the only one that could provide internet in this area, And then the local politician's like, oh yeah, that's a good dinner. All right, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, it's just kind of funny that everyone's saying, we need net neutrality to protect the little guy from these evil internet service providers when, they rose to power because of laws and regulations and lobbying. But if monopolies are bad, why should we trust the U.S. government, the largest, most powerful monopoly in the world? When has government ever made anything better? Think of the post office, think of the education system, think of healthcare. They can't even run a website. Think of the military. Anytime they get their hands into it, it just seems to slow everything down by decades and decades. It's a farce to think that they're going to be able to keep up with the internet and how fast it's moving. How are they even going to enforce and check up on net neutrality to make sure everybody is following it? That's going to cost tons and tons of money. President Obama is saying that the internet should be a public utility. So there's some law in place somewhere that makes it so that you can't tax the internet, but if the internet falls under telecommunications, then you can tax it. And they're going to need lots of paperwork to make sure that everyone is following the rules and playing by the same measures. And that's going to cost billions of dollars every year to the taxpayer. Every time that the state gets involved in a certain area, it tends to shoot the price up. Whereas, Comcast is a problem, but there's things like Google Fiber that are rising up. And the more competition we can get in internet service providers, I feel like the market would kind of balance itself out. I wish I was able to talk more fluently about economic measures like this, but we don't really need government paperwork to deal with Time Warner and Comcast. In a free market, they would be irrelevant in a couple years anyway because of stuff like Google Fiber, and then this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing. This thing that could, bargain more efficiently with Netflix, and then there's more competition, the prices decrease, and all this good stuff. Wow, this vlog has gotten completely out of hand. I know that last part didn't make a whole lot of sense with the economics, but I linked a really good article below for why costs will go up for the taxpayer if we treat the internet like a public utility. So look for that in the description below. This article also brings up a really good point about privacy. Here's a quote. The government will need to verify at a technical level whether the telecoms are treating data as they should. Basically, they need to check if they're following net neutrality. That means a whole lot more bullshit government jobs. Don't be surprised if that means the government says it needs to be able to install its own hardware and software at critical points to monitor internet traffic. Once installed, can we trust this government or any government to use that access in a benign manner? I don't think so. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. And when it comes to introducing any new law, I try to think of the big picture, which is, when has any law made anything better? When has the state tampering in businesses' affairs made anything better quality? When has it improved life as we know it? So yeah, internet bandwidth, as of right now, it is a finite resource. And it has to be allocated somehow. So we can either let the politicians decide or the free market decide. And I will always side with the free market. It may not be perfect, but I feel like letting consumers decide and voting with their voluntary dollar, that's the best way to do things. Anytime you try to fix things or set things based on outdated legislation anyway from 80 years ago, it's not going to work out well. So let me know what you think about net neutrality below. If you are pro net neutrality, I really want to hear your arguments. I want to see your articles, videos, everything. Let me know what you think. Net neutrality, stupid. All right, see you later.